Hey guys, it is finally that time on which we go over what is new in Unveil, and this is the biggest content patch ever. So much there is to it, in fact, that I won't get to talk about everything on this video. So make sure you get your cup of coffee, make sure you get your popcorn. This is going to be a fairly lengthy video, but still I'll try to keep it short on each bullet so we're able to fit as much as possible, cram as much in this one single video, because this is the Adventures content patch. First, and yes, I will be aiding myself with a list. First, new gameplay mechanics and gameplay changes. Let's start off with something new that I think it's really cool, and that is the injuries and pain system. Basically, now you're gonna have the possibility to pick a shorter route, a shortcut, at the expense of a chance of getting injured. Okay, so the cool thing about this is that you get to still play the game as normal and not experience any kind of injury or pain whatsoever. However, if you wanna risk it and save time, you can. So there's a risk and reward going on there that is completely optional. There are other routes to other places if you don't want to risk it. Now, whenever you get injured out of, say, in example, jumping off a 2-tile cliff, which is something you can now do, there is a chance of you falling, sliding off, and hurting yourself. Likewise, you can cross tall grass, but that tall grass may have snakes or scorpions or what have you. You may be injured by them as well. Once you become injured, you're gonna see a statlet on the top left indicating for how long that injury is lasting, and as you walk, that injury actually gets worse and worse and worse. You need to actually rest to let that cool off, and it can last for several days. It can be up to the point on which it lasts several days if you don't treat it on time. At the same time, as you get injured, you get pain induced, and pain is a bar that appears on the bottom left corner, just like whenever you have a torch on. This is a bar that indicates how much pain the little guy is feeling. If you are injured and keep on walking, that pain is going to increase. If it reaches 100%, you will faint for a few hours until that pain goes away. Bear in mind that once you wake up and if you're still injured, you're still gonna accumulate pain again. Okay, so this sort of, it doesn't make you slower, right? Or puts you any kind of hard limit, but it means you can't go for such long walks anymore. You need to sort of do basic stuff or stop to rest once in a while. So you definitely don't want to be injured. Now, there are ways to treat it. You can get aloe vera from any of the aloe vera plants that are around now in the game. You can cut them and you can process them to make compounds which are more effective, but otherwise you can just normally apply them, and that's gonna increase the speed on which the injury recovers. Likewise, you can also apply yourself a bandage, which will reduce the amount of pain induced as you walk. That means that, yes, sure, the injury will keep on getting worse, but at least you're gonna be able to walk for longer. And in some situations, sure, the injury is getting worse, but you need to find a way to control that pain, because you really need to get something done. You really need to get out of there. You really need to get somewhere. So you have all these tools not only to deal with injuries, but also with pain. And this is a pretty interesting mechanic because, again, it's optional. It's only when you want to have that risk-reward moment. Another new feature is weight. Now, I personally hate weight systems on games, but I believe I've done it in a pretty good way in Unveil, to the point I even like it. Normally, what I don't like about a weight system is that I get limits, like how much I can carry, and then I am slowed down, or I can't pick anything else up. That is kind of annoying, right? So instead, I was able to go for a soft limit because of the way Unveil works. So instead of having a hard limit, the more stuff you carry, the more energy you spend per walking step. That means you're gonna be rewarded by having a lightweight inventory. You can actually spend way less energy than you spend right now by having only a couple items in your inventory, say if you're going on an expedition. This is really cool because it opens up the game for more sort of kind of planning, and I'll talk about that in a second. But let me tell you, the way you manage this is pretty simple. You can use the place item on ground interaction like you had before, but instead of using it for just placing a campfire or one of those widgets like the humidity condenser or open coconut to collect water, rainwater, you can now just place anything, okay? You get a separate screen just with all of those items that you can pile on the ground, and you can just stack all of them in one spot. And let's say you want to deposit 5 rocks on the ground, you can just select the first one and spam the accept key and it will place it on the ground, go back to the same selection screen, the selector will be in the same spot, you hit select again, it will place that item on the ground, you just keep spamming, you're gonna deposit all of them. So it's really easy, you don't have to keep opening up menus and so on. Likewise, you can interact with a pile of items and you can pick an item up, or you can pick all of them up, or again put more items in, and you can put 9 items per pile of items. So this is really cool in the sense that it's not really a burden, and trust me, it doesn't really get a burden, but it puts a true limit really on how much you can actually carry. But most importantly, you put the limit. You can carry as much as you want, but you're gonna be paying more and more energy for it. Are you willing really to spend that much energy per walking step? I don't think so. So the idea here is that if you want to go on an expedition, maybe find new place where you could move because your resources are running scarce in that area, or you just want to scout for some water, some food and come back, you just take enough, like maybe some berries, health fish that you ate, and maybe something to drink along the way, just enough to make it back in the same day and not be dehydrated or dead, because then you don't get to come back. And that is really pretty much part of the core survival experience, right? You need to be efficient, and if you're gonna be hiking, of course you don't take everything with you, you take enough, right? So you can go, all right, I have enough time to go away for like 5 hours and then I need to go back, right? And the game makes it very easy to control all of these items, putting them down, picking them up, understanding how much weight each is taking up in your inventory. So it's not a burden at all, and I truly believe it adds a completely new dimension to the way you survive in Unveil. A much more realistic way of doing things as well, which is important in a simulator like Unveil. Now, moving a little bit more quickly, we have revisited sickness, which means that you're not gonna get an hour sickness by eating anything that is raw. Instead, you're gonna get a proportional amount of sickness according to how much you ate. You ate a small raw fish, maybe your stomach will feel bad for a few minutes, that's it, right? You eat a huge rabbit, then you're probably gonna be sick for a very long period of time. And the important thing is this is making sickness more fair whenever you eat something that is crude or decomposing, which can now happen. We now have a bare bones, bear with me, just bare bones, not completely, not fully fledged, bare bones seasons system. That means there is no snow or anything like that. However, every 16 days you get a full year cycle, if you may, 4 days per season. This makes the game so much more interesting all of a sudden, especially in maps like Free Roam, which are meant to be played for long periods of time. It means that fall is coming. Well, I better hunt some rabbits, get some stuff done to, you know, to protect myself from the cold weather. Maybe I should be logging in some more trees just to make sure I have enough fuel, because I was sleeping without a campfire in the summer, but I think I'm definitely gonna need it on the winter. Maybe I should look for a cave. Maybe I should move to a warmer area, right? Like, you know, I'm in the mountains. Maybe, you know, it's gonna be too cold here. Maybe I should go to the beach. So it gives you that time, you know, fall and spring, to make that transition for the tougher season, which is winter and summer in a smaller scale. And this is just inherently just keeps you on your toes. This is just a raw implementation. All it happens is that on the simulation, the sun changes angle, and it goes through a different angle, right? As opposed to being like completely on top of the earth, if you may, it will be more like on an angle whenever it cycles a full day. And that means you're gonna have less light exposure for your eyes, for the plants. That means the heat received by the soil and the air is going to be less, and of course there is going to be less temperature. Water is going to evaporate less, etc. So it is a full change simulation wise, but there's no change in the assets, okay? Because it takes way too many assets to make all the different seasons and so on. So this is just a raw, down to the simulation level kind of implementation. You're gonna be able to see next to the day counter what is the current season, but that is just about it. For now, there's no gameplay, different mechanics, per season. All right, we're just doing a crude version right now, and if we get to do it eventually, maybe after launch, then great, because that'll be kind of cool, and I'd be willing to do that. I really want to do that. Now let's jump over to scenarios. We have a few new scenarios. One of them is pain training, a tier 2 scenario where you can safely play with injuries. Maybe that sounds counterintuitive, but it means you don't have to worry about getting water and food and so on. You just focus on you know, dealing with pain constantly, you know, trying to fix it, and pretty much you have to survive at least 3 days and have no injuries. Okay, so past the 3rd day, you need to make sure you have no injuries to beat the scenario. On tier 3, we have Archipelago, which replaces Tiny Island. That is right, Tiny Island does not exist anymore. It was great in concept, but it felt kind of, I don't know, too limiting and kind of dull sometimes. So the Archipelago has the same weather settings in the simulation, but it's now made out of a few islands that are connected to each other, and you have to pay some kind of cost to access each island, but you can pretty much access them right away. Just that you are able to eventually create a much faster route between them, so you can more easily go from here to the forest and here to the mountains and so on. And water collection has to be done entirely out of, well, I don't want to spoil it, but there's no lake to get water from. There's no fruit to get water from, so you have to get it from the environment. I don't want to spoil it, so that's all I'm gonna say. Then we have Descend. This is a really interesting scenario. I was really shocked whenever I completed this one. Basically, you're stuck at the top of the mountain. Don't ask me how you got there. And you must find your way down through caves and plateaus on the mountain itself. The caveat is that there are no resources, no water, no food on any of the levels except the top one where you start at. So you need to prepare yourself for the journey. You can't take too much because of course it weighs too much. You won't have energy to walk, but you can't take too little because you need to eat. You're gonna have to drink water in the process. It may be a 2-day trip, right? So it is pretty cool. The preparation time is really interesting, and it's very strategic. Although once you set off, there is no going back. Like you bet on how much you're taking, and good luck. It's a pretty interesting map. There's a lot of torches to be used in the middle. You must craft them, of course. So it's just a great scenario, let me tell you that. And then there is Leafy Time. Leafy Time, basically, you get to, well, just survive out of plants, as the title kind of tells you. You can't fish, you can't hunt, You just have to, well, you have water you can get from a pond, but that is pretty much it. And then you must eat the fruits you harvest on your own to survive, and you beat the scenario by collecting 20 fruits of any kind. And that is not that easy as it may sound, because of course you want to get to the 20 fruits, but of course you need to eat them, right? So you need to get to a point in which your production of fruits is greater than what you're consuming. It's pretty fun to play. Don't underestimate this map, this scenario. I'm sorry, because it's pretty much like like a very simplified version of a farming tycoon, if that was a game, except that you don't sell things for money, you eat them to survive. It's really engaging, and I strongly recommend that you do not underestimate it. This was the most addicting scenario out of all of this. And then of course there is another scenario in which I destroyed. I have deleted free roam, and instead I have created free roam, a new one, because the old one, well, first off, it felt like a walking simulator, and that was kind of dull. It didn't have any of the pain and injuries and weight systems contemplated into the design of this scenario. So while I will be taking many ideas from free roam, the original one, this new one has 2 starting points. Everything will feel more condensed, more compressed, not you know, in a claustrophobic way, but you will feel like there is so much more to do within a map, as opposed to just vast amount of empty land you have to traverse to get to water, and then go all the way back to fish, and then all the way here to hunt. It was kind of unbalanced, and with all of these new features, some were gonna be missed. There were going to be a bunch of missed opportunities again on the old free roam, and of course the weight system would just really get in the way of the map design that was already in place. So while this new free roam is smaller than the other one, I do find it to be way more interesting, and it has way more randomness in the kind of weather events that kick in. You start at any kind of season, any time of the year, so again, it's way more challenging, way more interesting. You don't know exactly how you're gonna start with, and then you have to adapt to the situation. So it's a pretty good first step again on free roam, and I promise this is the last time I redo free roam. There's no more redos. There are no tier 4 scenarios yet. That's gonna be for the final version. More on that at the end of the video. Now, items. We're gonna have to speed this up because the video is taking a long while. First off, you get to create 2 new kinds of fishing rods: lightweight and strong fishing rods. The lightweight, of course, it weighs less, and it has the same properties that the regular fishing rod has. Not the improvised one that you make with a branch, but the one you make with a long wood log, all right? The one that is harder to get. It's pretty much like that, but it weighs like way less, like less than 50%, and it's great for long trips. Likewise, you have the strong fishing rod, which takes a lot of resources, but it's really strong. It's very durable. It doesn't break very easily at all. You can use it many times, and it has a much greater maximum weight. So now, especially now that these are better defined, if you find a fishing spot, that's gonna be a perfect situation for a strong fishing rod. You can still catch the same fishes, tuna and salmon, but they are gonna be way bigger. They're gonna be worth many hundreds of energy. One catch of those is gonna save you for a while, so it's worth bearing this in mind. Then we have the desalinator. This is a pretty cool widget, very common in survival. Basically, it's a small container inside a bigger container, and you have sort of like an inverted tent. If you made of some, I guess, nylon, but in case of Unveil, it's just a bunch of big leaves, because those are the kind of materials we use. And I guess we'd put a rock on, I guess, something on the top of that nylon to make that inverted tent. And basically what you do is you fill the outer container, the bigger one, with salt water, right? Water will evaporate out of the heat of the sun, and that's gonna, you know, condense at the top. The water droplets are gonna be in the middle, and they're gonna fall in the small container, and that's gonna be potable water, while the salt remains at the bottom. And that is exactly how it works in Unveil. It works with heat, most importantly sun heat. Make sure you don't put it under a shadow, duh. And with time, that salt water that you need to load first, okay, so you do need salt water to make this work, is going to eventually, well, evaporate and, you know, condense and start to provide potable water. You can pour it into another container or drink. And of course there is going to be a leftover of salt, which is another new item, and it will allow you to now make the decaying of meat and fish be at the half of the speed they decay at. So you're not gonna have rotten meat that quickly. Fish is I think it goes rotten in a day, and meat in about like 2 or 3 days. You're able to now slow down the process down to half if you salt them. All right, so this is a good way to preserve your now rottening food, okay, because that is a new feature, but it comes later in the list, so you didn't know about it. Then you have a machete, which you can use to cut tall grass and trim tall grass, so you're able to go through without getting any kind of injuries. And this is a great way to opening up new paths that otherwise you wouldn't even want to go through. All right, so the machete is pretty helpful on that. It can create new paths, or it can make it easier to go through certain areas. It just takes a lot of energy to cut, you know, and make a whole path, but it's pretty cool. It works really nicely. You can just cut, and it looks really nice and everything. Again, you have aloe vera and you have bandages as mentioned on the beginning of this video. Now tokens. Tokens finally got some love. I don't think many people were using them. Now I have removed inaccessible tokens. I have rebalanced some effects, and let me give you some quick insight on that. So first off, leafy token will now, as opposed to speed up the growth rate, which didn't really make any sense, will now plants will now absorb 15% more soil water at the time. Not the water you water them with, right? But the soil water they can get from the soil. Okay, the bottleneck for a plant growing, especially in Unveil, but it happens in real life as well, is water. Okay, without water it can't grow, right? In the case of Unveil, without water it can't use water to combine it with photons and make photosynthesis to produce growth. Okay, so this is going to sort of reduce a little bit that bottleneck of water the plants have. Of course you should water them if you want them to grow more quickly. Then you have hiker's token, on which climbing up costs 20% less. That is going from 5 energy to 4 energy. Or in another words, every 4 climb ups, the 5th one comes for free. And you have a reduced risk of falling whenever you are sliding off a 2-tile cliff. Okay, which is a new feature that you can get injured if you fall. Now there's a reduced risk if you have the hiker's token. Fishy token, this is a new one as well, just like hikers. You have 25% increased scent to all bites. It means that fishes are going to come at you faster. They're gonna find you more quickly. Okay, so you don't have like many hours waiting for a fish to actually, you know, get on hook. Then you have a new token, which is the lifty token. 15% less energy loss from walking when the inventory is heavy or overweight. Okay, so that means that if you're walking normally with this token on and you don't have a very heavy inventory, then this is not going to be working. Okay, it is only when you have a lot of weight you're gonna get an indicator telling you when that is the case, and that's when you get 15 less energy loss. And let's be clear, if you just barely scratch into the heavy state, you're not gonna get a 15% discount, okay? Because otherwise you're gonna be spending less energy than if you had less stuff in your inventory. That doesn't make any sense. So at the very beginning it may be like 1%, then 3%, then 5%, 10%, then 15%, then 15% for the rest of the possible weights you could have for the waiter weights, okay? It doesn't make any sense. The point is, I made it non-exploitable. That's the point. And the renewal token, also new, 100% faster injury recovery while sleeping. Okay? So if you really want to recover and you have this on, you just go to sleep, you're gonna recover twice as fast. Okay? So if you had, I don't know, a 12-hour long injury and you go to sleep for 6 hours, that's going to be enough, okay? Because instead of taking like 1 minute each minute, it's going to take 2 minutes for each minute, right? It's going to double the speed while sleeping again. So this is a pretty interesting one if you know you're going to be getting a lot of injuries in a scenario. Then, of course, there were new user interface changes, a new statlet HUD, that is the statlets on the top left, like well slept and etc. You're now gonna see them stacked vertically. They're much more clear to see. They're more optimal. They're more they consume less CPU, by the way, but you're not gonna see that. And they are animated, okay, as opposed to just popping in and out. It just looks really good. You have to see it. I'm really proud of it. Then hot and cold resistance are now displayed as statlets. Okay, so if you have a hot training token or a cold training token which delay by 45 minutes the effects of heat stroke or hypothermia, each other, you're now gonna see a statlet popping up saying, hey, the resistance has kicked in. You have 45 minutes to get out of that sunshine or to find somewhere to warm yourself up, right? Like this is giving you the time and exact time to know, okay, I have this time left. I need to fix this, okay? Thank you, token. Now I need to fix it. You're now going to be told for how long that is. There's a new indication for sickness. The energy and water bars are now going to glow in green with some germs spilling out of there if you pay attention for whenever you are sick, and they will glow stronger as sickness is acting more heavily on them. So say if you're walking, that's consuming energy, therefore the energy bar will glow stronger in green, okay, telling you, hey, this is costing more because you're sick, okay, trying to tell you that. This was really important, and you're not going to see that green as somebody stated, a green fart on the character. That is gone. There are new weight indicators all over the place on the right side of any inventory screen, and of course a weight next to the name of every item. And there is better inventory navigation for very long lists. Now we're not going to do a lightning round, but it's going to be much quicker now. Bug spray, rebalancing, and adjustments. Ready? Let's go. Major performance optimization, especially on long playthroughs, and you know what this is. Basically, you play for too long and the game started to get stuck. I think some objects that were always creating emitters, particle emitters, they kept on being more and more and more, and nobody cleaned them up. Okay, I fixed that. Many stability improvements, less crashing, less data corruption, etc. Fishing pull out action effectiveness raised by 20%. That is, if you pull a fish out and you have 90% chance of getting the fish out, it's 100% in fact. Okay, so that means that there's gonna be less room for just, oh, the fish got away but I had perfectly hooked. Not anymore. Rods and axes last longer. Access qualities now define the amount of energy spent while logging. Meat now decays and can go rotten, and you will have a rotten meat. Great for fertilization, not for eating really. Fire is less aggressive on fuel, that is on the simulation level, making torches and campfires last longer. This is really important for many of the new scenarios. Worms can now be eaten because all of you asked for it. And yes, they only provide 1 energy, but I guess if you have a few worms in your inventory and, digging a hole is 2 energy and you don't even know if you're gonna get a worm. If digging on grass, if you don't dig on grass, chances are you're not gonna get a worm. So this is not really a source of food, it's more of last resource, okay? But it's pretty cool because if starvation kicks in, you can eat one of these, right? And after 30 minutes of starvation, so you can sort of keep going in and out of starvation but not dying. That is not an exploitable issue of any kind. This is intended. And the coconut carrier recipe has changed from a coconut, rock, and vine to 2 empty open coconuts. There is 2 halves, 2 open halves, and a vine. Because I felt unfair that you would lose an entire rock for cracking open a coconut, which is something you can do normally. So this is the way you make one as well. And quality of life improvements, we got a few, but most importantly, you can now bathe while fishing Okay, so if it's too hot, you don't have to interrupt your fishing, which is kind of silly. And well, not too silly, but yeah, quality of life, guys. And you now have a renew torch action. Okay, so while you have a torch on you, before it runs out, maybe at 10% or 5% left, you interact with nothing, right? No object, just the environment. You're gonna get the renew torch option, select it, and you pick what object you want to ignite with it, and that torch is gonna be set off and the new one is gonna be turned on. So you don't have to keep going back and forth to a campfire to keep renewing your torches. Now you can just continue traversing and you can be renewing different kind of items as torches. So that is pretty much most of the features, and there is more that are implemented in the adventures content patch. Again, this was one of the biggest. I wasn't even sure if I would make it, but yeah, I put extra effort into it. I made it. Now it's here before Christmas and everything, so you get to play while you are on vacations. And if you want to see all of the changes, of course you can change the changelog. Ugh, words are so difficult. You can check the changelog. You can find the link in the video description, and you can also, well, I mean, if you're subscribed to the newsletter, you get all of this in a pretty nice way. If you're not subscribed to the newsletter, which is once every month now, so it's not gonna bother you in any shape or form, you can subscribe to it. There's gonna be a link in the video description as well. Now, I mentioned earlier I was gonna talk about the release of the game. I have a date, kind of. It's going to be around March, okay? So it's not gonna be like July or December next year. It's going to be around March. Basically, that's gonna come with final 2D graphics. That is that all of the graphics you see right now, none of them are gonna be in the game. None of the character, the world, water, grass, trees, sand, whatever, none of the items like the fruits. I'll try to keep them sort of like similar, but the fruits, the wood logs, the motor, the water containers, the humidity condensers, none of it. All of them are gonna be are actually being done by a professional 2D artist, and I can't wait to present him to you. He's really talented. He's making a great job, and I'm just crossing fingers we can make it to the release, because he is actually, unlike Adam, who has been working hard on, say, new music for this content patch, like in the intro or the pain music, and also new musics for launch. He has been doing it for over a year. He's doing everything like 6 months or less. All right, so he has to build the entire game in like all the 2D assets in a very short time, very short time, but he's doing a great job. And if he really manages to get everything done, I'll introduce him to you. You'll see what kind of work he's done. I think the game is gonna look, if you think the game looks beautiful, because many people do think that and appreciate it, it's gonna look 10 times more beautiful. Okay, same resolution and everything, but it's gonna look definitely more beautiful. On the launch, there's also going to be achievements, collectibles, and all that kind of crap you would expect on a finalized product, and it's done in a non-intrusive way. As always, I respect the nature of the game, I respect nature itself, so it's not going to be like, you know, all of a sudden you're doing a platformer to get an achievement. That's not going to be the case. And just overall polishing, and then I need a lot of time to make videos and edit and an actual website. The current one is really temporary, to, you know, really, well, do the launch of Unveil, right? This is the launch, and the game of course will have more, a few more items, definitely for sure, and more scenarios. There's no tier 4 scenario out there yet, although I know which one I want to make. It's just they're not out there yet. That is part actually of the finalized product experience. And as you would guess, I love making Unveil, and I want to keep on making Unveil, okay? So even if we launch the finalized product, that is just a way to say, hey, this is, for the most part, bug-free. There is no software bug-free in history, but this is for the most part bug-free. Of course, we're gonna fix any of the new bugs, but this is done. This is polished. Okay, this is something we can say, hey, you can put your money on this. You can bet on it, because this is done. You're not betting on the chance that we get to finish it. This is done. Okay, so you're gonna get your money's worth for sure. You have our well, we're telling you, yes, you're gonna get your money's worth. Bear in mind, the price may go up once it goes out of the early access, as I stated on the very beginning. This is no news, but in case you are not aware, I'm just letting you know. So if any of you were thinking of getting the game and for some reason you're watching this, or most importantly, if you have a friend that would like to play the game you are playing, tell them this is definitely the time to buy it, because then the price is going to increase. And I'm not gonna do a sale afterwards. That'll be silly. Like, let's raise the price and then make a sale. That's actually illegal, I think. So there's not gonna be a sale for a very long time. So definitely, if they want to get it, this is a good time. Just telling them to save money, otherwise they can buy the full product and pay more money. I don't care. But I'm telling you, hey, you have a friend, tell them they can save a few bucks, right? So that is pretty much it. Wow. Okay. If you're still watching, hey, you're an awesome person. I would love to see a comment of you. And it's really hot here because I have to close all the windows. Let's chill for a while. I have to close all the windows because it's so noisy. I have to turn off the fan. It's summer here, so pretty much. So yeah, I'm like, man. And yeah, I just the moment I press the stop import button, I'm rushing to I don't know, outside and just breathe. But I still enjoyed talking to you guys, and I really appreciate you following through all this time. Not only this video, of course, but all this time. It's really cool. We're finally getting to launch, and I would really like to know if there is any kind of feature or item, right? Maybe a survival item, right? Those are more easily done than, you know, maybe a full feature. Like, can you hunt dinosaurs? That is probably not even gonna be in the game, but maybe there are some features that you would like to be in the game and they actually match with the spirit of the game. And even if your idea doesn't, maybe it's the seed for another idea that does match or suits the spirit of the game. So don't hesitate, you know, don't be afraid. Do suggest features. If they don't make it in, whatever, but at least you put them out there and maybe they spawn another idea. And if they do get in, then great, because many of the features you see today are actually your suggestions from the Steam forums. All right. So yeah, thank you everybody for playing the game, for your great support, for the great reviews. Thank you for, wow, just wow. I'll make a video officially thanking you all, but thank you, just thank you for now. And yeah, enjoy the patch. If you find any bugs, which is part of this whole process, make sure you report them. I'll get them fixed as quickly as possible. Normally after a content patch, I usually fix things within the same day, so make sure you post your issues or send an email at support@particle.com.ar. Okay, just letting you know, AR, not just .com. And I'll get it fixed. All right, no problems there. So that is officially all. My voice is gone because apparently I don't know how to manage it, but I appreciate you guys sticking to the end. And yeah, nothing else. There's no other content patch until launch in March. We didn't make it. There's not enough time, so we're probably gonna release more content patches afterwards. But yeah, that is pretty much it. Thank you everybody, and I'll see you on the launch of Unveil.